It will be starting immediately. I will turn it over to the chairperson, Ms. Mota, who is the chair. I'm on the committee, and Ms. Appa is on the committee. And obviously, Mr. McLean, Mr. McGuire, Mr. Hendricks are here, and we welcome them to be here. Ms. Mota, it's all yours.
Yes, good evening. Welcome to Park and Rec. Today, we have Bill 53. Mr. Hammond, would you mind reading Bill 53 for me, please?
Bill 53 amends the park ordinance by allowing bikes in Trexler Park every day.
Okay. My understanding is that Mrs. Taylor has a PowerPoint today.
Yes, it's very brief. Very
Okay.
brief.
Okay, thank you.
I think we treated someplace else.
Either one. This court's just saying.
All right, thanks, Mike. Just a quick summary. Bicycles currently are permitted in Trexler Park on those days of the week that have a T in them, so that's Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. These restrictions were implemented years ago after a fatality in the park between a bicyclist and a pedestrian. Requests have been made in the past few months to consider opening the park to bicycles 7 days a week. Staff looked at the recommendation. We had a discussion last month with Parks and Recreation, and we're bringing forward again our recommendation this month to open Trexler Park to bicycles 7 days a week during park hours, which are dawn until dusk. The speed limit would remain 10 miles an hour. The reasons behind this are that bicycle riding is considered an acceptable and ongoing activity in Trexler right now. The paved path in Trexler averages 16 feet. Used to be a road, and can accommodate multiple users, including bicycles, walkers, and runners. Restricting the activity to specific days and times can be difficult to enforce and confusing to those who want to use the park, but may be unaware of the restrictions. Also, paved paths in other city parks are narrower than Trexler's and all allow bicycling with no restrictions and few issues. Finally, multi-use paved paths work all across the country with established rules and etiquette and communication and cooperation, which is expected among users. To implement this, we would look at setting up a board or group of park users that would be invited to meet regularly, multiple users, runners, bicyclists, walkers, to make sure everything's going well and working smoothly. They would also help us finalize the types of locations, I would ask them to, types of locations of signage to place along the path. The signage would be upgraded along the trail to include the generally accepted bicycle and pedestrian etiquette. I do not propose making the change until all necessary signage is in place. I don't want any confusion among users of the park. And Parks and Recreation staff will monitor these changes. Some examples of trail etiquette. Obviously, always, everybody in a park must stay alert and be aware of our surroundings. We must keep our eyes and ears open. Cell phones and headphones really close you off to having any idea of what's going around you. Walking no more than 2 abreast. Speed limit would be 10 miles an hour, and bikers would be expected to go slower if the trail was crowded. Other things, to give a warning when passing, to pass on the left, to protect your children and keep them under control at all times, to keep your dogs on a short lead and under control at all times, and to always enter the trail cautiously. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Do we have any questions from the dais?
I would ask my questions after I hear from the public.
Okay, any public comments? Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Penny Roth. I am a resident of Allentown, and I am someone who uses Trexler Park 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I'm like the mailman, rain, snow, sleet, hail, I am there. I live very close to the park. I run to the park every day with my dogs. We run around the park once or twice, depending on how much time I have before work, and then I go home. The PowerPoint was very interesting to me because the etiquette that is suggested is not used in the park currently. Nobody, I have kids who live in Denver and Boulder, Colorado, where everybody rides a bike and every path is a bike path, excuse me, and everybody says on your left, on your right. There is nobody in Trexler Park who has ever once said that to me, or to me while I was running with my dog. So to me, there's two issues. They are safety and signage. Every day there's people breaking the rules. They're either riding faster than 10 miles an hour, which is the posted speed limit, or they're riding on days that bikes are not permitted in the park, and there's no one in the park to enforce either issue. So regarding signage, under the current system, people are confused, but it's not because it's on an every other day basis, it's because of the lack of signage. There's one sign at Cedar Crest when you enter coming down College Heights. There's one in the parking lot that's really ambiguous. It says bikes and pedestrians. And then there's one at Trexler Park Apartments, which is where I come in under the Tillman Street Bridge. And that one's only there because I spent the summer calling the Department of Parks and Rec to try to get more signage in the park because I realized that people didn't understand what the rules were, because every day there were bikes in the park and I was getting into arguments with people. I would very kindly say to them, do you know that today is not a bike day? And they generally would curse at me or tell me to mind my own business. So I called the Department of Parks one summer, every other week. And I was told that I would be called back, and nobody ever called me back. And then on the last call that I made, I was told that she spoke with her supervisor and that they were told that they didn't want to ruin the park with too much signage and that there isn't enough money in the budget for more signs. So one day I was coming in the park the usual way that I come in under the Tillman Street Bridge, and there was a Parks employee putting up a sign at the bridge. And I got very excited. I thought, I made a difference. Well, I asked him, I said, was this a Parks initiative that I told you to put the sign up? And he said, no, I found it in the back of the shed, and I'm sick and tired of seeing people riding their bike in the park on off-bike days. And the other issue that I have about Trexler being a passive park, I don't really understand how bikes are considered passive. If you're riding on boardwalk, that's passive bike riding. But what you see in Trexler Park is a whole mixture of kids on bikes with training wheels, kids with tricycles, adults on 10 speeds, adults on mountain bikes. And the adults rarely observe, unless they're senior citizens, rarely observe the 10-mile-an-hour speed limit. Does that mean my time's up?
Yes, you have 1 more minute.
Okay. So I take exception with the passive park, but if bicycle riding is considered to be passive and allowed in the park, then so be it. And I'm concerned for the children's safety and the people who are riding in the park and aren't aware of what's going on. So in my opinion, whether the rules are going to stay the same or allow for daily bicycle traffic, currently the bike lane is too narrow to allow for any more traffic. The bike lane is actually narrower than the walking lane. If you go in some parts of the park, the bike lane is this, and the walking lane is that much bigger. It's twice as big. So I think that the whole road needs to be widened in order to allow for bikes and pedestrians to coexist. And if the current rules are going to continue to apply, then there needs to be a clear explanation of the rules through signage and instruction on the lane where the bicycle, there's a stencil of a bicycle and an arrow. But
I do agree. Thank you so much for your time.
thank you.
Any other questions from the public?
Hello there, my name is Brian Sherry. I live at 2727 West Gordon Street. I am a frequent user of all city parks. I am on the board for the Coalition for Appropriate Transportation, and as such, I've been involved with that group for over 10 years. We advocate for pedestrians, cyclists, and public transportation, how to get them all working together. And I think the rub of the things that we're hearing are people working together. I did learn something new today, that I didn't know that the days of the week with a T were why the bikes were allowed Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, but now it all makes sense. So that being said, confusion reigns supreme when you're in Trexler Park. If I'm being honest, I'm a licensed cycling instructor. I teach people how to ride their bikes responsibly. I don't ride my bike in Trexler Park. I usually find myself running through there. But I can't say it doesn't bring me joy when I see families with their bikes out there in the park. There's really no reason why in Trexler Park, like every other park in Allentown, that bikes and pedestrians and dogs and ducks can't coexist together with a little cooperation. There's rules for sharing the trail and they apply to everybody. And it's hard to monitor everybody all the time, but if a cyclist is trying to be courteous and tell somebody they're passing on their left, it's hard when people have earbuds in both their ears and they cannot hear them. I know music is a right, but safety is a right for everybody as well. That park, by far, is wider than any other trail in the city of Allentown. It's paved, it's striped, and on busy days, bikes may possibly have to leave the lane for a moment, but they can also get back over there. I find it hard to figure out where our city and our parks have broken down to become my park and those people don't belong here. It's unfortunate and it's something we see all too often in the city of Allentown, but we should be trying to work together and not against each other. There's a lot of people who are not comfortable riding on the streets in the city of Allentown. I don't blame them. I ride my bike on the streets. People are yelling at me to get on the sidewalk, which, quite frankly, riding on the sidewalk's dangerous. It's illegal in the business area, and I shouldn't have to ride my bike there. But that being said, families with children who want to spend time together should not be excluded from using the park because somebody feels that it's a walking park. Pretty sure General Trexler loves parks and had a vision for all of the parks, and I don't think that his vision was in any way to exclude people from any given park. So, my thoughts.
Thank you for the comments. Next.
Hi, Helen Hahn, 2016 East Highland Street. I'm here to get some information about this. If we could find out, how do you handle the dog defecating park in Trexler Park? We have a big problem with it in our area. And I'm trying to find out if you have a secret when you're at this park and you're walking your dog, are people observing, picking up after the dog, and is there a place to dispose of it?
Mrs. Taylor, go ahead.
Any issue with dogs defecating in Trexler is no different than any of our other parks. We have problems with that in all of our parks. I believe that there are, I will confirm that, but I believe we do have cans and bags there, but I will confirm that. As a dog owner, I always bring my own bags, but it is an issue with all of our parks. Fortunately.
Can you help me out? Are the cans the open cans? You know, there's some that you can push it in and then it's done, but some of them are open and then the flies come in. Have this problem.
I would have to get back to you on that, Helen.
Okay, I appreciate it. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments.
It's not on the agenda for tonight. Okay, great. Yeah.
And we're okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm not mad.
I'm walking and I also ride.
I'm not. I got enough chutzpah for everybody.
The bicyclists that I have seen are usually following the rules. They're always within the bike lane, except when there's a walker in the bike lane and they won't move over. That's the etiquette one of the previous speakers were talking about, that I face. I also see a fair amount of senior citizens riding out there, not in the non-busy hours. And again, they're right. The 10-mile-an-hour speed limit, I think, is more than sufficient for the park. And keeping bikes restricted from going up to the monument is definitely necessary, because then they're not coming down the hill. I brought this issue up because I like taking my grandkids out there. They learn to ride out there, and Trexler Park is somewhat special for them. It's the safest park in the city for children to ride. It is a marked bike lane. You can get two experienced riders side by side in that bike lane. But again, like I said, experienced riders. There's no way I would want to ride alongside my 7-year-old grandson. He weeps too much for that bike lane. I think that a lot of the confusion with the walkers are caused because they're not quite sure which day it is, and if bikers are allowed this, there, that, and that comes to the bikers too. But my experiences out there is there's no reason for it to be restricted. You compare that with the Rose Garden Loop, which is much narrow, has no speed limit. Lehigh Parkway, which is a challenge for a child to ride. Because the Rose Garden Pavilion and the Rose Garden Loop is so narrow, if there's people walking, that's a challenge for a child to ride. So again, I reiterate, it's the safest park in the city. And why should city residents have to drive out to Trexlertown, up to Macungie, to ride at Rodale, which is also marked and has its own separate bike lane and walking lane. In fact, they even have a third lane for inline skating out there. And again, no problems at all with the people jointly sharing it. The one advantage I like at Trexler Park over Rodale is at Rodale, everyone goes counterclockwise. At Trexler, the way it's set up, your walkers are clockwise, your cyclists are counterclockwise. So if everyone follows that, and again, I've seen bikers always follow it, the walkers, even the walking lane go both directions, but then you can see each other coming at you. So I strongly urge the committee to pass this resolution. This bill, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other comments from the public? What I would like to say is that I think that the key of this issue is, working together, giving people the common courtesy, and like the gentleman said, coexisting together, So we need to have common courtesy. And I do agree that we might need more signage. Do you have any comments from the dais?
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Moda. My question, Ms. Taylor, I know you've been with us not a couple of years, but how long has the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday process been in effect,
Many years. I don't know the exact year, but for several years.
Have over the years that it has been in effect, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, have you received, or maybe your predecessors received multiple calls saying, oh, this has to be changed to every day, we're behind the times? Have you received calls?
No, there were a couple of requests this year, but most of the calls, we did not receive a number of calls, no.
Okay. Recently, have you received calls from people at pro or con to this ordinance?
Yes. Since the discussion a month ago.
Can you talk a little bit about how many,
We received, our office received probably about a dozen emails, very few phone calls. It was mostly emails. The emails were probably 30% for the biking, 70% against the biking. Ironically, every resident that was against the biking was a non-resident.
Interesting.
Every person was against it, okay.
Very interesting.
Okay, and obviously you brought up, and no matter whether we say 3 days a week or 7 days a week, signage is very important, as you put out. Safety is an issue.
Sorry?
And what you said you wouldn't do it right away. What would your expected timeline be?
I want to, first I would want to, I wanted to wait, obviously wait until the council took a vote, so I haven't spent anything on signage yet. The first thing I wanted to do was post an invitation at the park for multiple users to meet at the park to discuss going forward, putting a plan together and get these groups, and multiple groups, working together and reporting with us regularly, so we develop a kind of a better culture in the park. They would also help us confirm what the etiquette would be and the locations for the signs. So I would, definitely before the end of the year, we would have signs in and a plan ready for the spring. I don't want a hasty switch because I believe there'll be confusion. I want to somewhat moderate this.
And obviously, the city of Allentown can have as many rules as we want to have, but if they're not followed and enforced, what's the have a rule? That being said, I know Mr. Sherry for many years, and I respect Mr. Sherry's what he's saying. And here is a gentleman who, and I see him riding in the streets. I kind of blow the horn at him every now and then, but I see him riding in the streets. But he points out he is a courteous bicyclist. Okay, there are a lot of people out there who are not. There are not. And I'm very curious that he said that he doesn't ride in Trexler Park. Okay. And that being said, I received a lot of phone calls and emails myself the last week and a half, 2 weeks, and almost as many as I received when we did the water and sewer lease. They weren't quite as threatening, okay, this time as they were last time. But let's suppose, let's hypothesize, let's suppose the ordinance does pass. Is there, obviously, when something is done, a good conscientious city would say, we need to look at it and reevaluate it maybe down the road. And obviously, you're probably willing to do that?
Yes, including meeting with the users regularly, with this multiple group of the bicyclists, the runners, and the walkers regularly, so that we can really tell how it's working.
And this was asked before, when we had this talk. Give me the definition of a passive park.
The general definition is a park that doesn't have a lot of improved facilities like active activities, basketball courts, playgrounds, those types of facilities. Bicycling falls within both. If you're a racer, if you're an experienced bike rider and you ride at fast speeds, that is not considered necessarily a passive sport. If you're riding with a speed limit of 10 miles an hour, if you're with children on training wheels, the use that we are trying to instill in this park, that falls within the definition of a passive park.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Taylor. Appreciate it.
And
I have a question about the passive park. So the parkway would not be considered a passive park. You can play ball there, you can play volleyball there, you can play frisbee there, you can have loud music at the parkway.
Lehigh Parkway?
Yes.
We consider that a passive park. I don't believe there's active athletic fields in the park.
Well, it has to be active, so
Active,
if I went down
that's
there,
just court. There's not a basketball court, there's not improved facilities like tennis courts, basketball courts, playground equipment. Amplified music is not permitted in the parkway, not permitted really in any of our parks. So if there is amplified music going on, that is generally not what we're looking for, what we want in the park.
all right, so if I were in Trexler, I could play frisbee or baseball or.
Trexler has a whole different set of rules that were set up years ago. Trexler is a really,
Okay, that's
passive
really,
park.
that's what I want to know the difference, that's a really passive park. But that bike riding is considered really passive because you're not making any noise, you're not playing, you're just riding a bike.
Correct.
As you would be running or walking.
Correct.
Thank you.
any other questions? Go ahead, Mr.
Thank you, Ms. Moda. I myself am an avid bike rider. I have ridden in almost all the city parks. I have ridden in Trexler Park. And when I have ridden in that park, what I have found is a pedestrian was walking in the bike lane directly in front of me. Yeah, I think, and I believe, I forget your name now, but you made a good point. I think if this is passed, the most important thing we can do is put more signage there and put it at all the exits and entrances. But I do believe the most important thing is to have everybody cooperatively sharing that park. Trexler Park has the widest path of any park within the park system in the city of Allentown. I ride often in the parkway, and that trail there is probably half the width. And there really is no reason to continue the ban on certain days. That in and of itself, and I believe you would refer to it, is what's most confusion. Because what day is it today? And that creates more confusion than if it were allowed all the time. And I do feel strongly that bicycling is something that should be shared. It's a family event, and many people have contacted me, and that's one thing they refer to, the signage. That most importantly, that be improved before that time, and that's what I would encourage be done there. Thank you.
Any other comments? Go ahead.
Well, while we're on the signage here, you had mentioned, I'll get to that, you had mentioned that it was gonna be monitored. Who's gonna do the monitoring and when? Are we gonna have somebody shift change to be out there in the evening to monitor it? Or maybe even on the weekends, or will it just be Monday through Friday between 7 and 3:30?
We would be stopping out intermittently when park staff is out there or we're out there. We also would hope to work with this, I believe that a core part of this recommendation is a group of users that would help us and communicate with us as to what is going on in the park. And it's been written about and not proven necessarily, but peer pressure and really taking over the park and helping us helps make sure that people understand what the expected behavior is in the park. So it would be
And I understand that,
effort.
but I also understand that we're gonna get somebody out there who, this group of users is gonna say, hey, you're going too fast on your bike, and he's gonna basically tell them where to go. That's going to happen. Then, I would hope that we have somebody with a little more authority doing some kind of enforcement there, and I hope that it's not just during people stopping by during their normal work hours, because that park is used heavily in the evenings too,
Yes.
and on weekends. So I would like to see something a little bit more planned out for that.
Yes.
Also, and just to follow up on Councilman Hendrick's thing of the signage, are we talking about consolidating signage then, instead of just putting up new signage on the
Yes.
bicycles, that we could consolidate whatever's there?
Yes.
And, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Go ahead.
On the monitoring, if someone is speeding, not obeying the rules in any way, is there consequences to that, or tickets? How do you deal with this?
Well, it is in the code, so a sweep ticket would be able to be issued.
So if I were doing 20 miles an hour and I got caught, I would get a ticket?
Yes. And we have to figure out how to plan that, time the loop at 10 miles an hour, and if you reach this point at this time, you're going too fast. How to monitor how to enforce that.
It can also be reckless biking, reckless driving. You don't have to necessarily have speed, but you can tell by speed is called. I got a ticket one time for reckless driving by speed. Had no idea what it meant, now I do.
I've seen you drive, I understand.
That's the first one.
I think that, okay, go ahead, Mr. Muller.
I do go to Trexler Park frequently. I come in from the main entrance on the wide city street, and I come in through the back way of the apartments with my dog. And up there all at different days, I have no pattern. My pattern is set by my wife. Tells me what to go to. However, it's surprising to me to learn that pedestrian traffic in Trexler is supposed to go counterclockwise and bikers clockwise. Do I have that right?
Mm-hmm.
No?
Yeah, it's in clockwise. One's clockwise, one's counterclockwise.
Mhm.
Counterclockwise is like.
Even with my glasses on, I don't remember seeing some signs. I'm not saying they're there. Through the effect, that if you wish to get started, you need to have some, if you just start out with that signage, you don't need too many other things, just say, bikes this way, pedestrians that way. But that leaves me with the problem of, if I come in a certain direction, I come in a short direction, I have to go all the way around. And if I come in the other way, I can make it short. So, seems to me that needs to be clarified in the signage and so on. I'm sorry. I thought it was.
Did you say something?
Some people say that he spoke, but he said nothing. So that's one thing, and the idea of, it's clear that the bike trails are wide enough, at least my experience is, I've hardly ever had any trouble with anybody biking at me or behind me or whatever directions and so on. So, again, if you're going to start training, you almost have to train people what they have to do now. It's like changing the way in which kids move around in school. If you say we're going to do this differently, that's fine, but unless there's somebody standing at each corner, it won't happen. And finally, as a dog owner, and I respect the problem which Ms. Hahn has brought up about dog etiquette and so on. Dogs are very thoughtful, but people have to take care of them. And the answer is, of course, and I think she said it, I never go anywhere without my doggy bag supply, ever. Because once with a suit on, I didn't have a doggy bag, so that was a problem. I think any open receptacle is there, and yes, some of our receptacles are open, and with the trash that piles up, including food trash during the day, there will be, a buzzing of bees and flies and so on. So I think we just have to hope that we'll get a more uniform trash container in the city. I know our department is working on that, but there's plenty of room for improvement there. And of course, the whole issue of overflowing trash cans that occur near walking and bike lanes. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Mr. Gurley.
Thank you, Ms. Chairwoman. I go to Drexler Park often, and I have no problems with the bicycles. The only issue that I would recommend is make sure you put a couple of signs with speed limit. Sometimes we see a lot of people speeding real fast in the bike lane. I think it's what, 15 miles, 10 or 50 miles per hour? 10. Yeah, people go more than 10, I'm sure. But and also the doggy bags. Put a couple of receptacles around the park. Besides that, I really don't mind that they go, every day, or it doesn't bother me. And most people are very nice walking there, really. It's a great park. I like to see it like that. I think obviously more people walk, and they walk in both directions. I'm one that walks in both directions. It depends where I'm going to meet my wife if she's there first. But I don't care going in. I don't think it bothers anybody that you're going counterclockwise or clockwise. The bikes right now go counterclockwise.
Mr. Gurley, don't change the rules, okay?
I'm telling you what it is. It is what it is. But, I don't think people really. I think the bike should go one particular way. I don't care which way, but one particular way, just to so the pedestrians can be aware of how they're coming, because like I said, some of them come fast, and that's the way it is. I don't think we're going to do, even if you put a 5 miles per hour sign, I don't think they're going to stick to it. But if we put a 25 miles per hour, then they may not stick with it. But I think we should put some, more than just one. So true.
Mr. O'Connor, one last question.
Yeah, a last question for Ms. Taylor. The Trucks or Trust, they give us a lot of money in the city for our parks. Did they weigh in on this issue?
They've not officially weighed in. I've heard from Janet as to her desire, but the trust is not weighed in officially.
You heard from Janet Roth?
Yes.
Her desire?
Yes.
What is her desire?
She's a daily runner, and she would prefer not to see bikes in the park at all.
Well, that's not the issue here. That would be another ordinance at another time. Okay, thank you for that. I'm finished.
One question, can I get
One
in
second.
for the public?
Okay, you gotta come up, you can't.
Okay, I didn't know if you were still allowing the public.
Go ahead, Mr. Hunt.
For you, Ms. Mota will do it for you. Just-
I appreciate that, and I want to thank everyone here who really discussed this issue and brought out each individual point. I think you did a good job discussing all the things that were in, and the thing I wanted to add was, what do we have in our hands to verify the facts of the people who are complaining? For example, do we have a portable camera? Do we have
You can take care of your cell phone.
a line?
You mind turning it off? It's your phone, Mr. Hunt.
Yeah, I got it. It's tough when you're important.
You thought that was in 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's amazing. Simply amazing.
Is that the mayor?
I don't think he has the courage. I gave him my number. Okay, what I'm saying is this, a portable speed limit. In other words, they have the police department has little traps that they can put down, that they can tell when a person is going past the beat to the next beat or things. Is any of that available? Oh, for heaven's sakes.
If it's an iPhone, I can help you out.
I think he needs technical assistance.
Mr. Hunt, you have half a minute.
He has an
I
iPhone.
know, you wasted it on a telephone.
Is anybody getting this idea?
Do they have?
Yes?
Do we have anything that can check the speed limit and verify whose side is really right, instead of having a debate down, so that we see the facts either with a camera, something that can verify. We know the complaints, now let's verify it.
But that's not really the issue on this bill. We're discussing, not using the park, using the park Monday through Sunday.
I know,
The
but
issue is not
all the
people
things that were brought up are all factors in the decision. But waiting for the report of the people who ride a bike, the dog people are gonna say one thing, the bike people are gonna say nothing, another thing, the people with the children, so you're gonna wind up with information that's not verified, it could be a fact, but not verified, that which type of person was the violator. And that's all I'm saying, how do you get that the pedestrians need to be trained? Do the bicycle people need to be trained? Do the dog walkers need the education? And I'm just saying, don't we have equipment that we can put out there to verify which group of people are the violators versus saying, I'm a dog walker, I'm a bicycle rider, or I'm something else?
I think Ms. Taylor said she's gonna have her people out there monitoring.
Yeah, that's not the issue of this bill, but I understand what you're saying. I think that if this bill is moved favorably, I think that the positive thing is that we're gonna have more signage, it's gonna be monitored, people are gonna be more educated when it comes to the rules, and hopefully, we're gonna be all working together. So I really believe that that's not the issue,
That we have to verify. You're saying we don't have to verify which group has.
No, that's not the issue here in this bill.
Well, it's sort of like the stop sign and everything else that goes on, and now we know we have a driver that has to be watched by one of our council people. So,
Thank you, Mr. Hunt.
don't we have equipment? I'm saying we have no equipment to verify a camera or thing to verify
That
which
means that
group
we're
needs
gonna have
to.
to do this in all parks. It's not fair if we do this just in Tressler Park, and we don't have the money to do that.
Mr. Hahn, you had
No, wait, don't ever ever say we don't have the money for safety. Don't ever say
It's
that.
not-
Don't ever say it.
Mr. Hunt, don't change my
Don't ever
words.
say you don't have the money for safety.
Thank you so much for your time. Don't change my words around.
Mr.
You
Hunt,
said it, lady,
Okay,
you
thank
said
you,
it.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hunt.
Mr. Hunt, you had us at, in the beginning when you were complimenting us. I had that down. I'll remember that forever. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the dais? Okay. I need a motion to move this bill favorably or unfavorably to full council.
I will make the motion to move it favorably.
All in favor?
Need a second.
Okay, I need a second.
It's just a debate, right?
Yeah, it's from the committee.
Who's the third?
Me,
Oh, did you?
I'm second.
Okay.
Can I second
You can second
it?
it.
To move it favorably in front of full council?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
All those opposed?
All those opposed?
Aye, I'm opposed.
Okay,
2-1.
2-1. Okay, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Ms. Moda. We will start our contract. We'll turn it on. Thank you, Ms. Moda. We will start our approval of contracts and professional services in 9 minutes. Thank you.
9? What time is it?